Hello PlayStation community, how are you? This is Dryden. I've seen online a lot of people talking about the 2 terabyte installation of a hard drive on the PlayStation 4, but I thought it was important that I show you actually that I was able to install a 4 terabyte hard drive, internal hard drive, directly to my PlayStation 4 without actually having to get the NO Databank, which looks definitely very ugly on your PlayStation 4, or actually installing any external hard drive with cables outside if you can get more than 2 terabytes. I just like how the PlayStation 4 looks itself, and I don't want to alter it. Eventually I'll put some skins on it or anything like that, and I just don't want anything external on it. So I just wanted to share this with the community. I haven't just seen anything about 4 terabytes. This is my first video on YouTube, so please be gentle with the comments. I'm just trying to help everyone. I'm not looking for anything else, okay? Again, it's a 4 terabyte. At the end of the day, it is 3.58 terabyte. That's how hard drives work. I'm using 1.58 terabyte, and I still have 2 terabytes of free space. I know I have about 100 different games, physical games and some are download games, the indie games that the PlayStation Plus gives. I've been a member for many years, so I got many games here. What I'm using is actually a 4 terabyte Seagate Backup Plus Slim. It costs about $130 in Best Buy and Amazon, etc. This is actually the original hard drive that came in the PlayStation. With the cage itself, it's a 500 gigabytes. If I'm not wrong, it's about 12 millimeters with the cage itself. And inside the PlayStation, you only have 12 millimeters to work with. So the real problem is that this one, once you buy it, as you know, it comes with an enclosure, just like every other 2 terabyte. You have to pry open the enclosure itself. Take out the hard drive, take it out of the aluminum foil, take out the little connector that it has in the front, a little PC board there. And then you have a raw hard drive similar to this, but without this cage, of course. Let me just open my PlayStation 4 so you can see it. Okay, so here's actually the hard drive itself. It's as you can see, it's relatively thick. It's 15 millimeters. It normally does not fit in the cage itself. You can see it functioning here, 3.58, and you have here the hard drive installed. What I actually did was I took out these screws. You take out this screw, this screw, this screw, this screw, and this screw. This is actually the Star Wars edition. In other words, is the 1200 series, is the latest PlayStation model. That's why the cage may look a little bit different than the ones you have, or if you have the same model I have, it looks like that. But very important here is, you can all change the hard drive and doesn't void the warranty, but taking out the screws and messing around with this, then that may void the warranties. You got to be very careful. I would suggest getting exactly the screwdrivers that you need with those different shapes. That way you don't damage the screws themselves. That way they don't look like you actually did open it. But what I did, again, I took all those screws. When you try to fit in the hard drive, it doesn't really fit because it's 15 millimeters. You actually have to force it in. So in order to do that, you simply lift up this sheet metal, this cage itself. You lift it up with your left hand, for example, and then with your right hand, you squeeze in the hard drive. It does feel a little bit tight because it hits here on this side. Just open it, carefully, not breaking it. You open it and you squeeze it in. Then when the hard drive itself is going to connect to the connector of the PCB here to connect the hard drive, you're going to see that inside this is a little lower than the hard drive itself. Actually, it's a little higher than the hard drive itself. So what you do is that with your left hand, you just got a pencil, and I push down the connector a little bit, being very careful because remember those have some solder joints, so you don't want to break them or you're going to definitely damage it, and this is going to be a big problem. It won't work for you. It's going to be very costly to repair. So you simply just push it down a little bit with your left hand with a pencil and anything you want. Just be careful. Remember, this is electronics. You got to be careful with the ESD. Make sure you want to short circuit the PC board there. You push it down, and then with your right hand, you just push the hard drive in. You can use a flashlight so you can see actually what you're doing there. I put the flashlight in my mouth, so it's really multitasking. Flashlight in my mouth, left side, push it down, push the hard drive in. Once you know you're in place, you can see it together. You squeeze it. You squeeze it in, and boom, you're done. Now completely connected, just like you see it here. I'm very happy with this. I have 4 terabyte hard drive installed. I don't have to use anything external, and I love it because now I can install all the games I want, and I'm not limited to having to be deleting games I just hate to be deleting games and having to download them again, and also downloading all the updates. That's how I am. You know, some people prefer having a small hard drive and deleting games. You know, I'm one that likes to collect games, so I'm good with that. Okay guys, I hope that was helpful. Again,